Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Atlanta Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of ATDC Radio, and this is going to be a fun one. We got with us today Betsy Plattenburg, the Executive Director with Curiosity Lab. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Well, tell us a little bit about Curiosity Lab. How are you serving folks?
Well, Curiosity Lab at Peachtree Corners is a 5G-enabled smart city and autonomous vehicle living lab, and we had our grand opening just last week in conjunction with the Smart City Expo here in Atlanta. And we are excited to be a proving ground for emerging technologies in smart city, IoT, and mobility.
So now, what is a smart city? What are some elements of a smart city?
A smart city, we have all seen glimpses of where different things talk to another. If you think about Nest cameras or thermostats that are online, these are all glimpses of the future. But what we were testing are next generation smart city technologies, things like where your car will speak, your autonomous vehicle will communicate with your home and make adjustments for you before you arrive. Your autonomous vehicle will talk to other things, other people. Everything will talk to everything. So when we talk about the Internet of Things, we literally mean things are talking to one another, not just humans talking.
Now, in order for that to occur, what kind of infrastructure is needed?
Well, that's one of the reasons that the city of Peachtree Corners has made this economic development investment in this smart city living lab. So we have infrastructure available for others to use in testing, including we have 5G up and operating today, courtesy of our partners at Sprint. We also have DSRC roadside units, a gig of fiber. We have smart light poles, and we have a 1.5-mile autonomous vehicle track. And the reason that's really interesting is we're the only ones in the world to have a public test track that we are offering both startups and large established companies the opportunity to test for free.
So now 5G, I've heard a lot about 5G, but you have it actually operational.
We do. We have it up and running today. Most people think that 5G is just the next level of phone service. We've all gotten accustomed to just getting the upgrade.
Right.
But 5G, the speed of it will enable technologies that we can really only imagine today. Think about things that are 100 times faster than they are now. Cars of the future, when they are fully autonomous, and that's level 5 autonomy, they need to make split-second decisions, just like you or I would if we're driving down the road and we see someone run out or we see a vehicle swerve in front of us. We make an instantaneous decision. 5G will enable vehicles to make that same decision in real time.
So now is 5G, is that the bandwidth? Like what makes something 5G as opposed to what are we at now? 4G?
We're at 4G right now.
But this isn't an incremental, like, you know,
it's not incremental.
We were at
it's
3G and then now it was like, oh, we got 4G and it was like, okay, that's
so we are actually offering a lunch and learn on October 1st called 5G for Dummies. Because we realized, as we had internal discussions and we talked even with technical experts, that all of us lacked clarity on 5G. So if you are interested in learning more about 5G in a humorous yet educational setting on October 1st, please join us in Peachtree Corners at lunchtime, and we'd be happy to invite you into our class.
But so you've seen 5G in action.
We opened last week.
Right.
So last week at our grand opening, we had autonomous level 5 vehicle by Local Motors called the Ollie Shuttle was up and running. We had autonomous demonstrations of other autonomous technology, including an autonomous lawnmower by Greensey. Greensey is a company here in Atlanta Tech Village. They retrofit lawnmowers to allow them to become autonomous.
So that's like a Roomba for your lawn.
Yeah, it is like a Roomba for your lawn. Exactly. A lot of teenage kids are pretty excited about that. As an option. We had another company out of California called Tortoise, and one of the problems they solve is really interesting. Here in Midtown Atlanta, anybody who's spent much time here sees scooters all over the sidewalks.
Sure.
What Tortoise has developed is basically little training wheels that pop out from a scooter. They put a camera on the front, and the scooters can return autonomously to a charging station, or they can reposition themselves off of the sidewalk.
Wow. So that eliminates the need for the guy in the pickup truck throwing them in the back.
Exactly. So we had them demonstrate last week as well. One of the things that's unique about our test environment is that the city of Peachtree Corners owns 100% of the road, the sidewalk, and the right-of-way. The reason that's important is you just have one city, one jurisdiction making decisions about testing. Mm-hmm. So if you wanted to come and test whether it's logistics delivery on the sidewalks or food delivery, you wouldn't have to wait months for a decision as to whether or not you could test. You would have the opportunity to wait weeks or less. And that's a pretty big deal.
Sure. And also you don't have to go through 50 different jurisdictions to get permission to do this and have one person be a roadblock. And
correct. And we have been thrilled to be described by a startup that we worked with in January that did teleoperation of autonomous tractor trailers. From the time they had an initial conversation with us to the time they were testing in the city of Peachtree Corners was 10 days. And what they said is they had never seen anything like it, that the city moved at the speed of a startup.
Right.
And we love that description.
Not at the speed of government.
No, not at the speed of government. And one of the reasons they can do that is it's a 7-year-old city. So they don't have legacy infrastructure expenses. Right. They don't have legacy politicians. They have the ability to move quickly, and they are very excited and willing to do that.
So now are startups kind of clamoring to get in there, or are you kind of trying to attract startups?
We are. So we have two opportunities for startups. We have resident startups who are welcome to rent short-term office space from us for anywhere from 1 to 3 years as they grow and scale their business. We also welcome affiliate startups, and that can be a startup, again, in the IoT, smart city, or mobility space located anywhere in the world who sit in another incubator or another accelerator. We welcome them to come in and test on our infrastructure. They can test for a day, for a week, for a few months. The interest of the city is getting activity in the city, and we provide more than $5 million total infrastructure available for these startups at no charge, and that is a very special value proposition.
So now what's in it for Peachtree City?
Peachtree Corners. Peachtree Corners has made this investment from an economic development perspective because right in the middle of the city is what's called Tech Park Atlanta. For people who have lived in Atlanta a long time in the 60s and 70s, this tech park was created by a gentleman named Paul Duke to retain talent out of Georgia Tech. It was one of the first technology parks. And a trivia for you. The color printer was invented in this park, and the modem was invented in this park, among other things. But the city decided to revitalize this 500-acre technology park. There's 7,500 people who work there and over 1,000 who live there. And the city made a commitment to revitalize and rededicate their resources to making this an innovation hub. In order to do that, they felt like they needed to put assets in the park. So there's 25,000 square foot innovation space with an incubator, and now the autonomous vehicle test track. So far, it's attracted businesses who are interested in 5G, and it's attracted more than 100 people who have come to see it and are interested in the possibility of utilizing the infrastructure.
So now, if there are startups out there listening and they are playing in this space, there's no harm, no foul to come and just go for education, because you're doing kind of education throughout.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I would suggest they send us an email at info@curiositylabptc.com. We are fielding inquiries literally from around the globe. A few of the other things that are really interesting about this test environment we found as we did our customer discovery is on the AV track. Again, it's 1.5 miles, but it has curves. It has a 13% grade in one section, and it has tall, mature shade trees. Mm-hmm. And those may seem like obscure things, but from a testing perspective, you will not find those things on a controlled track where everything's predictable, and you don't have those physical elements. In addition to, we have real people interacting with it all day long.
So now, what do you need more of right now? How can we help?
We really are in a mode of getting the word out. We had our grand opening last week, and we're very excited at the attention and the press that we've received. And now the floodgates, so to speak, are opening, but that's a good thing. Part of what we're trying to do is establish an ecosystem for both large companies and early stage startups and everyone in between who are playing in this space to meet one another. So the more people that we can make aware of this testing opportunity and bring them to Peachtree Corners to meet one another, everybody wins.
So now, as the startups come to you, how are you vetting, like, okay, these people make the cut that they get to test here, or these people don't?
We have an initial phone conversation, and then we do have an application that we require everybody to fill out. And you heard me say that we are interested in companies that are sitting in another incubator or accelerator. That's part of.
You've casted a wide net. You're trying to be very open.
We've casted a very wide net. We have a lot of interest from Israeli startups. Some of my colleagues attended an EcoMotion conference in June, and we expect a large group of Israeli startups to be here in the near term.
And then you mentioned the 5G. Is 5G available now?
It is. In fact, if it is up and running today. If you come through Curiosity Lab, we can put startups on that 5G at no cost to test.
And does the regular people have that, or is there any equipment now that uses 5G, or that's to come still?
There are some opportunities to use 5G today, but what we're really focused on is future applications of 5G. So if you're a startup today and you're not sure how 5G would affect what you're working on, those are the kinds of companies we want to work with to help you figure out what it is, how it's applicable, and how you might be able to utilize it.
And then what are some of the early startups that are in there? Can you talk about them?
Well, what I can talk about is 2 weeks ago we were in the news as we announced a partnership with Georgia Tech, the Institute for People and Technology, and also with Delta Airlines, where Delta and Georgia Tech will be doing proof of concept testing on our track in the first quarter of 2020.
So companies are out there already playing around in there? Yes,
they are.
So it's operational.
It is. We are operational and ready to go.
And if somebody were to visit, they might see some of the stuff in action.
Yes, they would. In fact, what you'll see is extensive investment has been made in signage, both digital signage and stationary signage. When you come into Curiosity Lab, you will know that you are in an unusual test environment. They're very large signs. They're bright. They're designed to get your attention, so we hope you put your phone down, you look around, and you realize that there are things that you may not have seen before, and you need to be prepared. They could be in the air. We can test drones under 400 feet. They might be on the sidewalk. They might be on the road.
So it's its own little world.
It is its own little world. We laugh and say it reminds us all of Epcot back in the day.
So now for you personally, how'd you get into this role?
Well, I was a consultant on the project for a while as we looked around at trying to decide what type of vertical we thought would enhance the innovation hub in the park. And then as it got going, it got exciting, and I joined in the executive director capacity, and it's been a lot of fun.
So now what's out there in terms of education? You mentioned that one kind of 5G for Dummies.
That's a class that we'll be offering regularly, but the first one's on October 1st. We're also running a cohort of ATDC's customer discovery for early stage startups to help you figure out who your customers are and if they're interested in whatever widget it is that you think that you want to build. And you can find that information on our website. And we'll be having more and more technical seminars as the months go by. Located at one end of our track, we have 1,000 hotel rooms and two full-service conference centers, and we expect to utilize those as well.
So you'll be doing events?
We will be doing events, yes.
And then what about opportunities for enterprise companies that want to kind of at least explore and play in this area with startups? We
have had great interest from enterprise companies, and we have innovation space available for companies to have employees work both on a project and short-term and hot desks as well. We found that from an enterprise standpoint, there's always great interest in being around startups and being energized and getting out of the office and seeing into an environment that's a little bit different.
Right, and innovation-centric
environment. It shakes things up. You know, when you get out of your day-to-day routine and you talk to the people that you don't usually talk to, it helps you think differently.
And then what about sponsorship? Is there an opportunity for sponsorship?
Well, absolutely. We are always looking for sponsors interested in promoting the startup community. And then with Curiosity Lab more broadly, we are talking to additional infrastructure partners all of the time because we are trying to provide a technology sandbox and invite people into play, bring their toys with them and leave. So we're interested in putting additional infrastructure there. I should point out that we are not the innovators. We will not be doing research. We're not interested in the intellectual property that's developed there. We're not interested in people's proprietary data. We are just trying to provide a proving ground for others to test what's next.
So then the startup comes in and they get access to all of the technology, and then you don't take any equity, or there's no relationship?
Not
like
at
that?
all. Again, I'll come back to this is an economic development investment by the city of Peachtree Corners to bring activity to the city. So we're happy if you come and spend a night in the hotel, eat out at our restaurants. We expect, and we're already beginning to see this, the rents increasing within Tech Park Atlanta as companies say, hey, we want to be a part of this innovation infrastructure. We want to access 5G, and we want to be around a culture of innovation.
Right. So if they're going there to kind of incubate their idea, at some point they're going to grow and need to hire people, so they'll get space.
Absolutely.
And their employees will want to live near there, and they don't want to fight traffic. And
Peachtree Corners is one of only 2 municipalities in Georgia without a property tax. And I throw that out because that's one of the reasons the city can make this economic development investment. Everybody gets excited about that, and rightly so.
Well, that's unusual, obviously. So if somebody wanted to learn more and get connected with you, what are the coordinates?
The best place to go is to www.curiositylabptc.com.
Good stuff. Well, thank you, Betsy, for sharing your story today.
Thank you. It was great to be here.
All right. This is Lee Cantor. We will see you all next time on ATDC Radio.